Okay, hi everyone, and welcome. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, and this is our second week of calls for this boot camp, the 12 weeks to 2K boot camp. So today we are going to be talking specifically on social media and how to use it for your social selling business. There are a lot of different ways, I'm sure, that you see every single day that people use social media to grow their own businesses. And I think that a lot of times that can become very overwhelming when you see what other people are doing, whether it's somebody promoting mascara or their fitness business or whatever, and it can feel like just overwhelming thinking of yourself creating something like that, a platform like that. However, the three of us know that you don't need to do any of those things to build a really successful and rock solid business to that 2K and beyond. So the most important thing when you think of all the different platforms there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, and every professional trainer has a different opinion on what you should use and how often you should be on there and the different ways that you should be engaging. But at the end of the day, what we know to be true is that the most important thing is that you are visible and you are also seeing other people and supporting them or cheering them on, or giving them some sort of acknowledgement that you see them, and hopefully in turn they see you as well. That not only goes for, of course, the relationship aspect of what social media is all about, but it also works really well for an algorithm, quite frankly. And we don't need to do calculus to be able to figure out the algorithm, because to be frank, it's always changing and nobody ever really knows like the secrets of the algorithm on social media, and we don't need to. We just need to, as Rachel has said before, since you signed up in this boot camp, Rachel has said, show up as a human, and that's the most powerful algorithm out there. So the way that we are going to be approaching social media, again, like as you've seen in the group, Rachel has been putting out prompts for social media. So daily prompts, like questions that you can ask to get engagement. This is not some sort of like sales tactic, because you can see that a lot of the prompts that she puts out there have really nothing to do with Juice Plus or even health. I think the one that I used recently that Rachel prompted was like, what's the very first thing that you do in the morning? And it's not like we're like looking for people to be like, oh gosh, I wish I had some fruits and vegetables to be able to eat right away. But it's more like, it starts a fun conversation. It's just like going to a party. I actually just ordered for my own family, like conversation starters, like fun little cards to have at the table to be able to prompt conversation and get to know each other and what we're thinking and our experiences and our days, the things that we miss out. So that's exactly what the prompts are doing for us, not only to start conversations and understand people's desires and their needs and where they're at in life, but also for them to see the same for you. That said, oh, don't fail me now. I just had a thought that I wanted to touch on with that. But anyway, the prompts are very important. So we're really trying to build this know, like, trust factor. You want people to think of you when it's somebody who is engaged, who shows up, who is thoughtful with responses, who, I don't know, it's the approachable person at the party that you're like, okay, I don't know anybody at the party, but that person welcomed me, that person, asked me some questions. Kind of treat social media in that regard. So again, you don't need to create a group. You don't need to master every platform. In fact, that can be really detrimental to some quick growth in your business. Just doing small things and doing them well can pay off hugely for your business. So if you prefer Facebook, then I would encourage that. again, like go with the platform that you're most comfortable with. If you prefer Instagram, then you can do those same prompts on Instagram or whatever, but choose a platform and then use the prompts to your advantage to establish that know, like, trust that people are looking for, that is absolutely critical to people ever buying something from you. Very rarely do I purchase something from a random person, right? But if I know the person, and I like the person, and I trust the person because they have good content and they're approachable and they're likable and all of those things, I'm much more likely to purchase something from them. One last point on that. Oh yeah, is that generally speaking, it takes, quite a few exposures to not only a product before somebody considers buying, but also the person. So the more exposure you can have on the platform that you're working with, the more established you are. And, you step into a leadership position, whether you really realize that or not, just by simply showing up. And that also goes to, the same applies to showing up on other people's feeds. So just being able to, if you like something on somebody's, as you're scrolling through, it really does make a difference to be able to pause and not just hit the thumbs up button or the double tap or whatever, but it really does mean a lot to people to be able to take a little bit of time to, type out a response. Again, you become more visible to those people, and they're seeing that they're visible to you, and it just establishes a stronger foundation for a relationship to wherever you want that relationship to go, Juice Plus or not. So I am going to go ahead and pass that on to Rachel to take it away.
Thank you, Kira. Talking about social media and, taking myself back to where you guys are at, just starting your social selling business, really, it is very cool that I can speak to this because I have learned so much. And I can let you in on a little secret part of my journey is that when I first started my business, I wasn't even on social media. And I made the first 2 promotions just reaching out to people via text and email. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. Like, it's so old school. And if I had known or had the tools that you have right now, who knows, right? But we can't live there. Because I was coachable in the beginning. And so I want to go back. I would just want to ask you real quick, are you being coachable in this process? We're in week 2, like Kira said, we're digging into social media. And last week we talked about the commitment and, being accountable to your own goals that you have. And I just want to say that showing up and doing these things, these consistency things is so important. And it's not about knowing exactly, what are we going to be posting next week? Listen, we are going to talk about Juice Plus, like we are going to do that, but we need to show up as humans first. All of this is so intentional to the know, like, trust factor that Kira was talking about. And so one part of that, the part of the daily activities, 5 reach outs, 5 reach backs, and 5 social media interactions. Why? Why 5 social media interactions? Because we want you to be focused when you're scrolling. Listen, we're all on social media. We're just not all contributing with content or with the likes and the comments, like Kira said. But what we're challenging you to do is show up and start interacting with people. And when you say like, oh, I don't like what's on my feed, or, my social media can be so negative, guess what? You're in control of that. You're in control of who you follow. You're in control of what you see. Maybe it's time for you to start weeding out some of those bad messages, weeding out some of those people that are not pouring into you, that are not, going to be with you in this next phase of what you want to see in your life. Maybe that's your first first process when it comes to social media. Maybe you haven't even gotten into the prompts because you just like can't get in onto your social media right now. But we can be intentional and strategic in building a group around us that lifts us up and is encouraging, and that it is a feed that we want to log into and interact with. We can engage with people who we are thinking of, who do I want to know that I sell Juice Plus? Because social media is a long-term game. We have other things, right? We've got the reach outs, we've got the reach backs, we've got the launch call, we have the launch live, we've got the discovery call. Those things are like, how can I share with Juice Plus? How can I share with people Juice Plus right now? And potentially turn those into conversations and into them buying. Social media, it's not always like that. It's showing up and being consistent. And that's why you have to start from the very beginning in the prompts and what we're suggesting you to do. But who you are interacting with the most, who you're liking and commenting, the greater the likelihood that they'll see what you're saying. And I love what Kira said about the algorithm. You don't need a calculus degree. It's always changing. It's nothing I ever want to listen to or train on how to master the algorithm of social media. Ew, don't even waste your time. It's going to change tomorrow. No, the algorithm is about relationships and showing up and being you and showing what your life looks like. And to what Kira was saying too about like creating content, like, no, you don't have to craft a specific content or, like post in the same spot every day or whatever. Like you can just post where you're at in your life, what you're doing. But again, going back to being in control of what you see on social media, interacting with those people who are on their own health journeys, who are posting the things that you like, commenting on that so that they see you and you see them, so that when it comes to the time where they want to buy Juice Plus, you are who they think of. Because people are buying Juice Plus every single day. They go to juiceplus.com and they order Juice Plus. And we are fortunate that when someone does that, our company gives those orders to reps. Okay. That doesn't just sit in like a corporate account where someone in corporate is managing them. All of that goes down to people, but people are buying every single day. Do you want them to buy from someone else or do you want them to buy from you? And I feel that like my close friends and family, the ones who I feel like I spend the most time interacting with, I want them to think of me. I don't want to be in their face and always selling them Juice Plus, but when they need it, I want them to think of me, that I'm that girl. Because we know that some people do dip their toes into network marketing and, blast a product for a while and then they kind of disappear. It happens. That might be why some people get a bad taste in their mouth for it, but you can't blame them, right? They're excited about something. They want to show up. They want to show everybody. But how we are training you and coaching you to be a modern day social seller is really about being you. And it does go back to belief, a lot of things. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Jackie because we've trained on social media quite a bit. And I've learned a lot from her because it's all about what we're thinking about, right?
Well, because you were on social media in the beginning, which I think is great to share with people. And so I kind of want to connect to two thoughts here. The first is, yes, we want you to be active on social media and creating a presence and building relationships in that space, but it's so that you can connect with people in real life. There's a lot to be said for the fact that this is a social selling business. We are not billboards. We are not infomercials. We cannot expect to just put our information out there or make a post about Juice Plus and somebody's going to go to our website and order, or, we're not blasting infomercial type information where people are like, oh my God, give it a rest already, lady. Like, we're trying to just bridge this gap between social selling in the online space and in real life. And how would you have a real conversation with somebody in real life? How can we translate that? And what does it look like online? Because it's really not that different. Just like if you were to go to a party, right? Are you going to be approaching people like you would on social media and saying like, buy this from me, it's the best thing ever, and here's why, all the reasons? People will be like, wait, who are you? Right? They're not going to pay any attention and be like, okay, I gotta go get a drink in the other room. They want to know, like, who are you? What are you about? Why are you here? Why, why are you so passionate about A, B, or C? And that's what you want to show people on social media, just like you would in real life. So we're not here to give you, infomercial type posting information. People are over that. People don't want to see that. And I know you don't want to post that, which is part of the reason why you're probably not posting at all. Many of you, right? Because you're afraid, like, I don't want to be that person. I mean, let's be real. Nobody wants to be that person. It's been overdone. So how can you do it in a modern way that feels fresh and fun and relatable and real life? And that's what we want you to trust in this process. All of those social media prompts that, Rachel is posting every single day for you is just for you to kind of get your feet wet. Just put yourself out there on social media. It doesn't have to sound perfect. It doesn't have to look perfect. All of that doesn't really matter, because that's not what people are looking for on social media anymore. People are not looking for curated, perfect posts. They're looking for real, relatable people that are speaking to the things that matter to them in your own voice. So I want to encourage you, as you work through those prompts, number one, to work through them, if that feels uncomfortable or that feels new, to just be brave and put yourself out there. You actually get, I promise you, more positive responses than you would have ever thought you would. It's going to bring up so much new conversations and teach you about yourself and other people in a process that's going to be highly effective and rewarding, both personally and professionally here, in this business model. It's not just for you to, we don't just use social media to blast about our product or our company. It's to help people relate to us. But why do you think that's so hard? So that's what I kind of want to ask. I know not everyone's on the call right now. If you're watching in the replay, just put it in the comments for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, or a scale of 1 to 7, 7 days a week, how many days a week are you posting right now on your social media? Go ahead and pop that in the comments for us so we can kind of see where you're starting from. And are you committed to this process of posting regularly? It doesn't have to be every day. Rachel's sharing social media prompts 5 days a week for us. We want you guys doing that 5 days a week. But here's the thing. If you miss a day, you miss a day. So what? So get back on track the next day. It's just like if you were on a diet or do an exercise program. Are you like, oh my gosh, I can never eat like this again or do this workout again because I missed Monday? No, you're like, okay, it's Tuesday. I'm going to start over. So start over on Tuesday. Start today. If you've missed all last week and you didn't do any of those prompts, either go back and start from day one or just start today. There's nothing saying you can't do that. This is your process. But if you're not trusting that process and you're not moving through as it's intended, it's not going to work. And there's no harm in seeing if it will, right? There's no harm in putting yourself out there and seeing what is people's response. And I want you to realize it is a process. It's a process in learning, how do people engage with you online? Is it different than how you might engage with others? What kinds of content are they more responsive to than others? What can you learn about your friends and your followers through your social media postings or stories or DMs? There's a lot to be learned about the people out there and what they're looking for and how we can be a solution to the problems that we have. And keeping in mind that social media, like everything that is worth doing, is going to have a compound effect. So like Rachel saying, it's a long game. What that means is every little thing compounds over time to create a presence, to create a platform, to create a business. It doesn't just happen in one fell swoop. You're not going to just put one post out there, go viral, and then, it's done. It's one day, one post, one sentence, one comment, one like, building on top of each other. That's how you create a presence, and you aren't just being a billboard or infomercial. Your intention with those posts is to get into conversations with people, just like you would in real life. So make sure that you're practicing through that discovery call with your sponsor. That's the purpose. The purpose really is to help you be exposed to how we're talking to real people in real life about Juice Plus as a real solution for them. That's it. And if you haven't even moved through that part of the process, getting into conversations through something like social media is going to feel a little even more uncomfortable. But that's your intention. Get into a conversation. Invite them to learn more. Invite them into a DM or to watch a video or anything that's going to help you get them into a conversation and further that conversation to see if Juice Plus is a fit for them or not. So I want you to do me a favor as we wrap up here. If you are, ready to trust the process and ready to be coachable in this process, I want you to be really honest with me after you've rated yourself on a scale of 1 to 7. If you're anything below, let's say a 3 or 4 in that consistency, which is actually pretty good, to be honest, that's pretty good if you're that consistent week to week, bravo. Okay. If not, I want you to also just tell us, just share with us here. This is a safe space. We're here to help you and we're here to coach you in this process. Be really honest with me in the comments. Why do you think you are not showing up on social media? Just give it a thought. It could be simple and a simple answer. I'm going to share with you the 3 main reasons why I see people not showing up on social media and then kind of help us work through that. And if one of those reasons is your reason, great, we've already found a solution. If it's not, I want to invite you into a personal conversation about this so that we can help you move through that process. Me and Rachel, we had long conversations about whether or not social media was right for her at the time. After she, completed those first 2 promotions, she was ready, but it wasn't without hesitation. It wasn't without fear and doubt and uncertainty. She had all of those really big feelings around whether or not social media was right for her. And I have to say, I think at least, Rachel, because you brought up those concerns to me, we were able to work through it. And I think it's been rewarding, I would say, right? Like, you have created so many amazing connections through social media. You have grown not only personally, but professionally, not because of social media, but it certainly added to your experience. It didn't detract from it. It wasn't this big, scary thing that you kind of in your mind made it, right? So there were a lot of reasons why Rachel was hesitant and a little bit fearful of that. The first reason I see most typically is that you just don't know what to post. It's that simple. I just don't know what to post. It's really nothing more than that. So if that's you, comment below. Yeah, that's me. I just don't know what to post. The good news is we've already come to a solution for that, and it's the daily social media prompts that Rachel is putting out there for the next 12 weeks. Literally 12 weeks of social media prompts. Fixes that problem right then and there, okay? Hopefully, in that process of just filling out those prompts, pushing it out on social media, and not thinking too much about it, doesn't have to be worded perfectly. You don't even need a picture. If you have a picture, it doesn't need to be a perfect one. You're going to learn, oh, that's how you post. Oh, that's what people want to hear. Oh, that's how people like to engage in content. Oh, people need to know more about this or that. In that process, you're going to learn, right? How to come up with your own posts maybe in the future. Which ones landed, which ones didn't. Problem solved. Check out the social media post prompts in the guide, okay? The second reason I tend to see people not really commit to showing up regularly on social media, at least, is the time. They'll say, I just don't have the time to post on social media. Comment below if this is you. Just don't have the time to post on social media. I'm going to let you comment that really quick first before I move on to this next solution, because I want you to somehow in your phone, you can see how much time you actually spend on social media. It might surprise you how much time you actually have. If you just took 25%, maybe, I'm just throwing out numbers here, of that time that you actually spend on social media scrolling to actually contributing, it would completely change the way you experience social media. And let me tell you, it is so much more fun when you are a contributor. It really is. You create so much more in terms of the relational collateral by being a contributor on social media. It's way better to experience it that way. Now, I'm not calling anybody out by names. I don't know what your little insights tell you, but if you are spending any amount of time scrolling on social media, I do want you to just commit to chunking out a little bit of that time. I don't know, maybe it could be something like, okay, I have to post before I scroll. That's a great kind of rule of thumb, way to hold yourself accountable. If you want to scroll that day, you got to make a post that day. Or maybe it's as simple as what I like to do is I like to kind of block out my time. I have very limited time to like sit and think and write. So I will tend to block out my time. I know on Tuesdays, after I drop my kids off at school, that's the time I come home to my computer. I prefer to write on my computer. I actually just kind of put notes in my notes. And then I airdrop to my computer and then I, write them up on there. But I'm a kind of involved writer, so you can do a nice, fast way that works for you. But I know Tuesdays at 9:00, that's my writing time. I'm gonna write for an hour and I write all my posts for the week. Sometimes. Now I like to do that because it's more, I feel like it's a more focused, effective way to use my time. However, I will add, I always leave room for real time posting at the same time, right? So I like to batch content all at once, but I also like on a Monday want to take a video of me and my kids doing homeschool, I will. So I think there needs to be a balance between like batch curated content that you're like thinking about ahead of time and just showing your real life, because people do want to see real life, and that's where like the stories and stuff can be beneficial. Okay, so block out your time, batch your content, set a rule, set parameters, whatever. Okay. Third thing I tend to see as a reason why people don't post consistently on social media is simply fear. They're afraid of what people might think. They're afraid of what people might reject them or think differently of them. Just that uncertainty around how is this going to play out, because I don't know, because it's new, it's unfamiliar, it's kind of new territory for me. I have never really showed up like this online. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Fear is kind of a big word to describe all of those feelings. And guess what? It's totally normal. Your body uses fear as a way to protect you. It's nothing to really be afraid of though, right? Like if you think about it, like there's nothing really to be afraid of. So it's this irrational fear that like something's going to go wrong or somebody's going to think something of me that isn't true, etc. I understand that fear when we're talking about something that's new and uncertain, but I want to encourage you to just do it anyway. That's what courage is. That's what being brave is. We're talking about using social media. I mean, it's a really first world problem, right? Like, what are people going to think of me on Facebook? Who cares what they think? If they don't really know you and understand you and are going to be judgmental about you and whatever you're posting on social media, it says a lot more about them than it does you. Don't keep yourself small and shy and quiet because of what other people might think of you. Not when there's people out there that you could potentially connect with or help, right, in this process, or just keeping you from having fun and being social. At the end of the day, think of it as that. It's a social game. It's meant to be social. People want to be social. There is judgment and fear and rejection in everything we do, every daily interaction we have. Social media is really no different, except you can delete the comments. You can ignore them. Heck, you can delete your own posts if you want to. I do it all the time. Oh, that one did not land well. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. Totally fine. It's all trial and error. There's really nothing to be afraid of. It's all about being real and authentic and showing up as you and trusting that process and knowing it is a process, it's practice. It's going to help you figure out how you want to be on social media. And in that process, you'll figure out how you want to weave Juice Plus into it. At the end of the day, it's just designed for you to be social. Reminder, we're not infomercials, we're not billboards. However, how do people purchase online today? Through people they know, through brands they trust, through people they know and like and trust. So if you want to have a foot in that space where you are a part of the social selling world, which is only increasing, don't be afraid of it. People expect it nowadays. Just know that there is a smart, artful, human way to do it. And that's what we're trying to teach you in this process. So with that, your homework for this week as a part of our week 2 action plan is to go into your Juice Plus Hub. All of the directions of how to do that are in week 2 action plan post. Go into the hub and find the Social Media Academy course. It is a 30-day course that is going to walk you through the basics of social media, from setting up your bio to writing posts and everything between. It is a 30-day course that we have designed for you to do in this week. Okay, so it's not really 30 days worth of stuff. It has it's broken down into 4 parts. You're gonna do all 4 parts this week, okay, which includes setting up your bio, figuring out what you want to post about, etc. It's going to show you that we want you to be super human, relatable, authentic on social media, and how you can kind of fit Juice Plus into that. Part of your action plan is to do your first live video on Facebook or Instagram, I suppose, with your sponsor. So your role in that can be very minimal, and you're just kind of getting warmed up on social media. Our hope is that you've used this last week to kind of get into people's news feeds through those social media prompts, and by the time you go live, people are like, hey, how's she doing? What's she talking about? I'm excited to hear from her, right? You kind of have been put back in the front of people's minds. So I want to encourage you, do those 2 things this week. Get with your sponsor or the person that has invited you to this boot camp to hash out the details or to talk through any of those last minute jitters or concerns you might have around that. Trust the process and be coachable, and great things will happen. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much. Oh, and if you have questions, pop them in the comments of this video or bring them to the call. We are here to answer them. We'll go ahead and do that now if you have any. Leah.
One of my concerns with the post is that what do we do if no one responds to it? If we put one of the prompts up and no one reacts, how do we manage that?
Well, I think that is actually going to then be our challenge that Jackie and Rachel and I discussed for the week, and that is to go and friend other people that are in the boot camp, because then at least you can have them kind of having their eyes on their stuff, and then you can go comment on their stuff as well, because that's a good way, to begin. And I'll just kind of expand a little bit more into fear. I'm sure you've heard before.
Before you do that, I just want to add one thought to that process is you teach people how to engage with you. So if you're not engaging with people on social media, when they see your live, they're like, Leah doesn't engage with me. I mean, they're not thinking that consciously, but unconsciously, you teach people how to engage with you. So do that first. Go out and comment on people, show them you're engaging and you want to be engaged with. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Kara, because I know this will be a longer part of the conversation.
Yeah, well, that, and also that, there's a lot less skin in the game when you post some of the prompts that Rachel has given us, the 12 weeks worth of prompting. I really don't care what people's morning routines are, whether they comment or not, their morning, I'm not offended that my sister hasn't told me what her morning routine is, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I started this conversation out. It's just those prompts are for people to be like, oh, okay, so Leah's been like having fun question, like, oh, this is fun. And then people eventually get into it. You know what I mean? But it's not this like big scary thing where you're like, I have something for you to buy, and then crickets. Then you're like, oh my gosh, it was so heavy, it took so much, and nobody responded. But if you're like, what's your favorite flavor pancake or whatever, and people don't care, it's a lot less skin in the game, but it's more exposure for you. And then just like what Jackie said, also, yeah, making sure that you're commenting on other people can just kind of make it a more human, make it a more dynamic relationship. You like, nobody wants a one-sided relationship. But going back to like fear, I think that maybe you've heard this before, you know, fear, physiologically, fear and excitement are like millimeters away from each other. They're pretty much, they're the same physiological feeling in your body. And it's the only feeling, maybe, I don't know, that we're able to actually control by choice, right? So like we can actually turn our fear into excitement, you know, and I think that that's really, especially when we're talking about, you know, going live, for you, it would be with me, or I mean, you could go live with any of us, but assume that you'd go live with me, you know, like it can be super scary, or it can be like really fun, like, oh my gosh, we like haven't seen each other in the flesh in, oh, I don't know, 20 years or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, this is gonna be so fun. And that's just kind of like another fun thing to kind of keep in mind. It's the same thing that I tell my kids, like anxiety / fear and excitement, they're all the same. It's all the same within us, and we have the power to choose that. But there are those little helpful tips. You know, you can honestly, Leah, like you could tag us. Like if you have like a bigger post that like feels like, oh, I don't know, if nobody comments like a or whatever, you can totally tag us. And like that could just simply prompt us to be like, oh yeah, we'll share our great experience with, if it's specifically like a Juice Plus post or something like that. Like little things like that can make a really big difference because at the end of the day, we want you to feel as supported as possible. And you will be. Yeah, that's all.
And I
Well,
just
Jan, it's
add-
totally normal.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's all I want to say is it's totally normal to not have response. I mean, I have lots of posts where nobody commented and I asked them to comment and they didn't. Happens all the time, but I still show up for that, you know, that one time that it does work. And so it's totally normal to not have comments or engagement, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, it's normal, and you are still liked and loved and valued and appreciated and worthy, even if no one comments or responds. Like, your worth is not attached. Your worth, we would encourage your worth not to be attached to any post you would make. That you are a steward, you're a messenger, you're just sharing a message. And I mean, that sometimes is like a daily reminder, like, oh yeah, that got no engagement. That's okay. The people that I follow who are, you know, in the industry of teaching people how to do social media, they're like, just post it and move on. Like, you don't know what will go viral. Sometimes, I mean, I've never gone viral, but like this cup could be viral, and I'm not even talking about a cup, you know, like you just never know what will resonate with people. But our worth is not tied to the likes and the comments. It really is, like Jackie said, just we're showing up, we're teaching people how we want to be interacted with, and some posts hit better than others. But at the end of the day, do they know that I sell Juice Plus so that when they need it, they come to me? Am I showing up as a real person with real fears? You know, hey, I'm sweating in my armpits to be live with you tonight. People are going to be like, oh, she's so real. I would feel the same. She's so brave. I can't believe she's doing that. But they'll never tell you. You know, so many people watch and never comment and never like, but then you see them face to face and like, they know everything you've been doing for the last 5 years. And you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were there. So I kind of show up for the people in my mind. It's like, I know there are hundreds of people who will never comment, never like I'm showing up for them because they're seeing it. That was good. Thank you for being brave and sharing that, because sometimes, well, all the time, bringing a voice to a fear totally takes its power away from us, because fear shouldn't have control over our lives, right? We're not called to live in fear, but of power and love and sound minds. So that was good. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure. And I like most what you said about post it and move on, and what Jackie said about, tons of posts, no one responds to. It's not implicit of failure in this endeavor. It's more just like, hey, sometimes it doesn't happen, or they changed how things are posted and someone didn't see it. So just be comfortable with that, and be comfortable with no response and not afraid of it.
And the reality is the posts that are super personal, I'm sure you saw, I posted Dane and I in our ugly sweaters from a party, because it just brought me it still brings me so much joy. I can't even deal with it. I want to frame these pictures because they make me so happy. And those posts get through the roof engagement. People feel like they can see what I'm doing, and that's not why I post it. But then as soon as I post about something that does not give them a window into my life, the reality is I'll have one or two things, but just what Rachel is saying, there's people watching from those feeds, and that's totally fine by me. And it doesn't have to be perfect with posting or whatever, but yeah, you're not gonna hit a home run or strike out every time for sure. But having a good, robust, engagement. Here's a little bit of my life. Here, what are you doing with your life? It's just going to end up being really well-rounded. And it took me a long time to get really, now I'm very comfortable on social media and I don't really care. But it was it was a lot of long game, as Rachel and Jackie have said, long game approach. And it was pretty uncomfortable for me, but knowing what I know now and seeing the fruits of those labors, I'm like, man, could you imagine if I did this 10 years ago? Dang, so anyway, it's worth it. But yeah, they're not all going to be home runs, that's for dang sure.
It reminds me of what, is it Brene Brown who speaks of how vulnerability isn't weakness, it's actually courage? Because I think of my posts, my most vulnerable posts, which you don't really know me, Leah, but I'm not a vulnerable person. I'm not very outwardly vulnerable. And so it was really uncomfortable for me to write these very vulnerable posts. And I got great engagement on them outwardly. But what was most meaningful to me was the connections that vulnerability created, because people got to really see me. And I'm not saying you have to go out and write vulnerable posts. I'm just saying, for some of us, just showing up on social media right now feels vulnerable, right? So that was a process for me. But I look at social media not only as a long game, but it's layered. So on the surface, we see our posts and we think we can judge them by their likes or their comments or their shares even, but really that's just on the surface. It's how those posts create the conversations and the connections with people. And maybe that post in and of itself doesn't, but the next one, they're like, oh God, there she said it again. I'm layering this experience for people to really get to know me. Anyway, people have come to me in person, gone out of their way to find me in person, to speak to me in person about my posts. They never commented or liked on them, but they came to speak to me in person. So that's kind of how you know, or I'll have people from a post or from a story go into my DMs, their own accord, come in and message me and start talking to me about it, right? So, but said nothing on the post, even though I asked them to. I asked them to, no, but they'll come because they don't want to be vulnerable on social media, right? And so there's all these layers to it, and we're really just kind of showing people the different layers and inviting people into the different layers of it. And on the outside, it can look very, you know, vanity metrics or vulnerable, right? It's like, oh, that didn't do well, or it's doing really well. But it's really what's going on behind the scenes, internally, personally, but also relationally, that really is where it's at. And when you, and like I was saying, when you have the ability to experience social media in that way, it changes it. Like, it changes the way you approach social media, it changes the way you comment, it changes the way you message people, it changes the way you respond to people, because you realize, like, we're all just real people, and we're trying to show up on social media because we all want connection and meaning in our lives. And some people are, you know, doing it really well, some people are doing it really messy, some people are finding their way and stumbling along the path, but like that, at the end of the day, that's all people want, you know. And when you can foster that experience by showing up, it's cool. It's a cool process.
I have another question. Do any of you have tips for creating our videos? I did create one and I've just been looking at it. I'm like, I'm not there yet. So I've never really done that. I post like stuff about my kids or like my painting and furniture stuff. Like, I do that all the time. But then a video is like so much more personal and vulnerable, like you said. So do you guys have any tips for successfully creating it? Do you do it separately, or do you do a live stream? Like, what's the approach with this?
Such a great question. So what kind of video? Like a reel or like a live? Like a, what kind?
I guess I'm not really sure. Which do you think has more influence, gets more attention?
I think both are good. Like I said, like, look at social media as like it's just all these different layers, and the more things you can kind of bring together, the better. So both are great. Reels, you can be a little bit more like fun and short, and I don't know, feels a little bit less pressure-y to me because it's more creative. Whereas lives or videos where you're like talking about something or teaching about something, that feels a little bit different, but both are great. I do have to find it because I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I'm the type of person that, like, I want to go on a live like being quite prepared of at least like the bullet points of what I want. So I'm not totally rambling, because as you've experienced just on this call, I can do that. And that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable and purposeful in my video. But there is, I can't think of it, but there is like, you can state like, hey, I'm coming to you live today to talk to you about the 3 ways I get my kids to eat their veggies. Like, and then so people are like, oh, I want to pay attention to that, right? And then, okay, way number 3 or 1, and then okay, and then you want a call to action. But there is like a little formula. I'll see if I can find that might be helpful to you. But I'll say this first, just do it and practice it. And like, the more you do it, like Rachel and I used to go live, we used to have to do it for 45 minutes. So that was like this thing we did where like the algorithm back then liked long form video. So her and I, for 45 minutes, we would go live like once a week on Facebook. Remember that, Rachel? 45 minutes, y'all. So we did it. I mean, you know, the more we did it, is my point, the better we got at it. The more we did it, the better we got at it, you know. And then I like, anytime I'm doing live, to ask questions to get my audience to comment and engage. Like, I think that's a really effective live video. But at the end of the day, just, how do you like live videos? How do you interact on social media? What kinds of things do you want to listen to? What grabs your attention? Like, start paying attention to how you consume content, and then just start to replicate that, you know, in your own way.
And for any video, you can imagine, like, what does your lighting look like? Do you have good internet? you know, I don't know if you're looking for that type of thing, but like, you know, that can be easily fixed, you know, with having the light coming in toward you, maybe nap time, or you want your kids there. Like that could be part of you showing up as you. Who are you reaching? You're reaching women who are like you, who have kids around. I mean, Jackie and I have done plenty of videos where a kid walks in, you know, and it's almost like, I guess I'll just show you how I deal with my kid walking into the middle of, you know, something that I'm doing for professional, for work. But that's life. And so people love that too, you know. But a video specifically, like for the launch live, that there's guidelines for that in the group. The discovery call is not it's just a phone call. So that's not a video. And then any other live that you do, you could do unboxing.
I didn't get that.
Oh,
Could you try again?
my watch that was Siri. Unboxing your product could be one of them, you know, like that could be a video. You can do a video of taking your Juice Plus, but that could be a picture too. So if you're looking for like ideas on what types of videos to do, I think the prompts are mostly just words and pictures. So, but again, I agree. I mean, if you're already thinking about that, Facebook does favor lives. I think Instagram does too, you know, just, you know, showing up to your audience and having a conversation with them. But like Jackie said too, like, what do you want to talk to them about? Bullet point it out and then hit those bullets and jump off. Doesn't have to be long. Shorter probably is better, right? YouTube shorts, Kira.
Yeah. I'm taking notes right now. I'm thinking, okay, like this is actually really good, Leah, to know what you're looking for, to be able to, you know, we can put some ideas like these in the groups. So like under Reels, Rachel and I probably, I don't know, less than a year ago, we were having a conversation like, because I'm more comfortable with Reels and yeah, like the shorts than Rachel is. And so like for a while we were talking about like, okay, what are some ways that she could make or people could make a reel without showing their face or without talking or without dancing, right? Like, and it's a great idea to be like, got some Juice Plus, you know, you can have words typed with fun music or whatever. That's a great way that feels very not intimidating, for lack of a better word, I guess. So I'm writing these down now, and you can kind of look for some ideas in the group, because right now Rachel has the post prompts, but maybe if we can do some live prompts, some real prompts, such like that, that would be helpful too.
And so the reels you can pre-record and then post at a different time. Okay, that'll probably be my preference. We're a little chaotic over here right now. I don't think anyone wants to hear it, so I'll probably do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and are you on Instagram, Leah? Is that where? Okay. What I do is I like, as I'm watching Reels, first of all, I try and follow people that are going to be sharing content similar to what I would want to do. And then I just save them. I save the audios. And when I have the time, or I've set the time aside to create Reels, and I also like to batch my Reels, then I'll go through my save. And like, that helps me be more creative. Like, I'm not coming up with this stuff on my own. Most of it, I'm just like, oh, that's a great idea for a reel. And so I'll just kind of take that same idea and just make it my own for my own purpose. And that's how I would recommend getting started, is just, again, paying attention to how are you consuming them, what kinds of information is grabbing your attention, and how can you kind of just recreate that. And again, like the reel quality or the video quality in the beginning from you is probably going to be low. It gets better. Like the more, I mean, I feel like the interface of Reels in and of itself is hard to figure out in the beginning. And then you're like, oh yeah, last time I could do this or whatever. And you just have to accept that that's how it's going to start out, right? Is less than the one you want to copy probably, but the fact that you want to do it is good. And it's fun. Like as you get to used to you doing them, like they're fun to create if you like to be creative. And can I ask you, Leah, what do you do anything currently that you're trying to fit Juice Plus alongside?
I'm home with my daughter. I am babysitting my nephew. He's in between daycares, so that's only a couple more months. But I also started a business. I am studying interior design. And in the meantime, we're doing interior painting and like furniture painting, cabinets, that kind of stuff. So I've been doing posts with that a lot. And I'm pretty comfortable with that, but no videos yet. But maybe I can start doing some of that too for extra practice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for you, just showing, real life.
I can maybe make a really fun one of kids running around chaotically ripping my house apart. That's really relatable, I think.
But at least they got their fruits and veggies in today. Yep. Yeah, real life.
I'm going to stop the recording. And